Hey you guys, I am back. Let's just say I took a very long winter break and now I am back in my residence to tell you guys about this hopefully amazing game that you all watched, Denver Nuggets versus Philly in Philadelphia. This was a game that on paper Denver wasn't looking to really win at all. 5 starters out, and then you got Val already injured, Tim getting his rest, Jamal needs to get his rest, and then you got Tamar. I think Tamar might have a season-ending foot injury. I'm not sure if it's season-ending, but I know he has a foot injury that's going to have him out for a long time. So it's just like, on paper, these guys were not supposed to win, and that's probably why DA told everybody else to just rest. Aaron and Christian are back in the rotation, but this was a back-to-back game and they shouldn't be playing back-to-backs regardless. So this was just, I feel like for the coaching staff, this was a developmental game, but it was very admirable to see how the players, I'm pretty sure to some degree they took it as a development game as well, but they still hustled. They played hard. And they didn't look at it as we're just going to go out here, do whatever, and hope that we win. Like, they really put the pedal to the metal from the beginning. And as always, it starts with Spencer Jones. Spencer Jones played so well on both ends of the court. And like the first maybe like 5 or 6 minutes of the first quarter, he had 8 points. 8 points in the first quarter that helped Denver get like an 11-2 lead. And I think that was one of the driving factors to really let Denver know, oh, like we can actually win this. And Spencer, he was playing like that all throughout the game. He only had 10 points, but out of all the starters, he had the highest plus minus. He was a +8. Mind you, this is an overtime game. They won by 1. And Spencer was a +8 because his defense was just that much impactful and influential for the Denver Nuggets. I'm watching Spencer Jones all throughout the game contest layups and contest shots that Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe do not usually miss. It's very rare for me to watch Tyrese Maxey miss a layup, and he had a few missed layups. He had a couple of missed layups that were contested mainly by Spencer. Denver in general, they were doing a great job just crowding in the paint, playing zone and just blitzing Embiid. And thankfully it worked in this game. I feel like they tried to do the same thing with AD in that Dallas game, and it did not work. And honestly, because you got Yoke on the floor instead of Duran, or instead of Zeke, and Yoke he can't rotate and move as fast or jump as high as Zeke or Embiid. So I feel like, I'm sorry, not Embiid, Zeke or Duran. So I feel like even though they were, and that was one of my biggest, probably my biggest frustration in that Dallas game, is why didn't Zeke play? Because sure, it's like you want to double AD, but if you know you're lacking on the athletic and size-wise, speed-wise, you can still put Zeke in for that, regardless of what you may or may not get out of it on the offensive end. But they kind of apply the same system to Philly and to Embiid, and I tell you, they get the best of it, okay? It was so cool to watch because they're in this zone and you can see Philly just kind of be like, they're having issues and they're getting frustrated trying to figure out how to feed Embiid the ball. I mean, Embiid still played great. He didn't play great towards the end, because towards the end, Denver was able to force about 2 or 3 turnovers on Embiid, just getting the ball out of his hands, getting him to either dribble out or not even just him, but other players. I think Quentin Grimes had a turnover. Tyrese Maxey had a turnover. So just applying a lot of pressure and playing fast against Philly in ways that teams that younger teams that play against us usually do. So it was, again, very refreshing to watch Denver apply that same pressure to Philly and to one of the fastest teams in the league. Tyrese Maxey is a speed racer, okay? Tyrese Maxey is probably the fastest point guard in the league. But again, the pressure that Denver applied to them, it was kind of crazy to watch the layups that didn't go in from him and VJ. But Spencer Jones, I give him a lot of credit for the work that he did. And it wasn't just like him, it wasn't just like him guarding Embiid or blitzing Embiid. It was, his energy was just so freakishly infectious, especially when when it comes to the last turnover that he had, the last turnover that he forced in overtime to kind of secure the win. But we'll get to that later. But yeah, Spencer had the highest plus minus at 8 out of all the starters, only scoring 10 points. But I tell you, everything that he contributes to on defense, I don't really even know any other person in the NBA who can guard like he can, for him being a two-way player. I hope he's nominated for the Hustle Award. You know, of course, they're going to do Coach of the Year. What are they going to do? Coach of the Year, Hustle Player of the Year, all that jazz, you know, all the jazz and the accolades that they do at the end. But I feel like Spencer Jones should definitely be put in that category of Hustler of the Year, because he's a hustler. He is a hustler. Peyton. Do I want to say Peyton or Jalen had the bigger game? I think Peyton had the bigger game in terms of what this game meant to him, since he hasn't gotten that extension yet. I'm sure for him, it's a lot of things that he feels like he needs to prove to earn that extension, really just earn that starting position, whether it be on Denver or whether it be on any other team. And he's been averaging over 20 since Aaron, mainly through the month of December. But I want to say, like, since Aaron and CB went out, he's been stepping up and showing out in these games, filling, and especially when Cam came out, kind of being that number 3 for Jamal and Yoke, at times even being that number 2 when it may be just him and Jamal out in the rotation in terms of like experience when it comes to adding in the second unit. So I think this game was very important for Peyton. I think this game made the biggest statement for Peyton out of anybody. And it was just so great to see him step up to the plate and like really not even flinch. He had 24.7 rebounds, 4 assists, a steal, 2 blocks. He had 6 turnovers. There were 2 of them that I felt were like really bad. There were 2 of them, I think they happened in the third quarter, that I felt like were really bad because they were showing fatigue. And in the game, the third quarter is when Philly had their largest lead on Denver at 9, and they were gaining a lot of ground. And I'm just like, oh, damn, like, we're going to lose this game. We've been playing well all game, but it just looks like pretty similar to, which game was it? It was another game where it's just like fatigue sets in and they just don't have enough gas. I think it was the game before this. I forget who they played. Who did they play? Brooklyn. Was it Brooklyn? No. It was Cleveland. Yeah, that game was very winnable, but fatigue set in. They only lost by 5, but fatigue set in, and it just kind of made me feel like, oh, this is just going to be another one of those games. Thankfully, it wasn't. But again, you still have everybody hustling. Zeke played so well. This was the best Zeke Najee game I had ever seen. I mean, this man is doing things that I had never seen him do. Because again, he's so tall, he's so long, he's not super skinny, he still has muscle on him. And when he's driving, there were so many times like he just attacked the basket in ways I was just like, where has this Zeke been? And mind you, whether it be with Embiid or Bona, it's just not easy to do. It's just not easy to score over those two dudes in particular. Because at the end of the day, it still is Joel Embiid. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, sure, his knees giving him problems here and there. He can't do all the things that he used to do, but he's still Joel Embiid. And Bona is just like just a big old muscular freak of nature. So to see him attack the basket over Joel and Bona was just, it was so cool to see. It was just one, and not even hesitate, right? So there were possessions. Zeke had four out of 5 threes. There were possessions, and mainly shout out to Peyton and Pickett, where they're just, they can't be kept out the paint. I don't even like, I want to say Philly was just kind of run man. And they couldn't really, or if they were running zone child, whatever they was running, they couldn't keep Peyton and Pickett out the paint. They was driving the paint the entire time. And either they were going up for layups, but most of the time they were driving in and kicking the ball out to the open player. And Philly was just getting punished for it. Driving the ball in, and even Julian as well, driving in, kicking the ball out. Hunter Tyson got some threes off from just having the ball kicked out to him. Zeke again had 4 out of 5 threes. It was kind of crazy to see him shoot that efficiently. Zeke was 7 of 11, 82.3 true shooting. 21 points total. 21 points on 82% true shooting. If I were to tell you that was Zeke Naji, or if somebody were to tell me that was Zeke Naji, I'd be like, Zeke Naji on whose team? Because I know you're not talking about Denver Zeke Naji. He plays so well today on both ends. And one thing I'll give Zeke credit for is just like, for all the other games we've watched Zeke, sure, he can have butterfingers. Sure, he doesn't rebound as much as you want him to. Sure, he can kind of be turnover prone. However, on defense, he has a presence. He has a presence that you can't deny, because I noticed it a lot that whether Zeke is guarding the ball or whether he is guarding the person that the ball handler is looking to pass the ball to, those players are contemplating or second guessing, hesitating, trying to figure out, okay, what's the best decision can I make in this moment, rather than just attacking, trying to get around him. Do I shoot it in this moment? I notice a lot of times when Zeke just establishes his presence, does some type of contest, players usually second guess if they want to shoot that shot. Quentin Grimes did that a lot, which was weird because I enjoy Quentin Grimes. I wanted Denver to get him in the offseason. They chose to get Brucey B, which is cool. Bruce also had 19 points. I'll get to him in a minute. But I wanted them to get Quentin Grimes for that backup position because Philly didn't wait to re-sign him until the season almost started, which I thought was just really, really, really weird. I'm like, he stepped up when basically your entire team was out and had a lot of memorable moments as a backup PG for Philly last season. So why wouldn't you re-sign him? So I wasn't mad at the way Quentin Grimes played. If he would have told me Zeke Naji played better than him or Hunter Tyson played almost just as good as him, I would have been like, what? But yeah, there were some possessions where even Quentin Grimes had like good looks and he just didn't take the shots that he usually would take. And I think he was also influenced by Denver's energy. It was just like, these dudes, they're driving to the basket. They have all these hustle plays on both ends of the ball, on both sides of the ball. Like, I want to get into the action. And he was trying to get into the paint too. But Denver was making that very hard for all of them. But Zeke Naji, he had some very, very outstanding plays today. There was one play where Tyrese, I think, dribbles the ball up, passes the ball to VJ. VJ is he wants to feed the ball to Joel. And of course, you would think you would just kind of overshoot it to him, and he could just extend himself and get the ball that way. But nope, Zeke flew in, and he literally jumped straight up and just caught the ball right in his hands. It almost looked like VJ threw him the ball, but Zeke, he made his presence felt all throughout the game, did a great job wherever he was placed. Again, 21 points on 83 true shooting. He was only a -2. Which I'll take it. He had 2 turnovers. I don't really even remember what they were. And 8 rebounds, 2 steals and 2 blocks. Like, be so for real. Jalen shocked me. I want to say I was shocked, but then I remember other Jalen Pickett games. This was probably the biggest Jalen Pickett game just because of the circumstances and the competition. And kind of like the absence of help from any of your starters. He really, you could tell in his face, like he wasn't really moved by the moment. Like they all understood, like, okay, regardless of who's playing and who's not, like we're still professionals at the end of the day and we still have a job to do. And I think Jalen was definitely the one, him and Peyton were definitely the ones to lead with that message and definitely played like a professional. There were so many. How many threes did he have? Jalen was 7 of 11 from 3. That's crazy. He was 11 out of 20 total, 7 of 11 from 3. But get this, right? Jalen had no free throws. Jalen never went to the free throw line all game, which was crazy because there were at least 3 or 4 times. There were at least 3 times where he's getting fouled in the paint. I remember one definitely by Tyrese Maxey. They were just going one-on-one in the paint. Nobody else there. Jalen goes up for the layup. Tyrese slaps his arm and the ref is right there, doesn't call it like at all. And Jalen even goes to talk to the ref like, dude, like, I know you saw that. And he was just like waving him off, da-da-da-da-da. There's another one where Jalen, he doesn't shoot a 3, but he steps into it. And it's a nice side 2, steps in from the corner. And he makes it. But he gets the shot off exactly as Bona bumps him. And it was a foul as clear as day. And the refs still don't call it. It was like the clearest sign of cheating in the game. So Denver overall missed 7 free throws, right? It's like you make 3 of them, we don't even go into overtime. But the foul calls that the refs were not trying to call for Jalen in particular, was really crazy, especially when Jalen's like the smallest person on the floor. How are you going to tell me he didn't get fouled at any point during this game? He was a +6 right behind Spencer. Like I said, was a +8. He had 4 turnovers. Oh yeah, they started calling like some cheap fouls. They were calling so many cheap fouls on Denver, some soft fouls in the 3rd quarter. That was really just irking my soul because it's just like those were the fouls that kind of got Philly their lead. Some of them were fouls. A lot of them were like play-ons, and even the announcers was just like, be so for real. Like, that's a play-on. This game is fast. This game is competitive. This game is aggressive. Let these dudes play on. Don't try to do all that knick-knack stuff now. But Jalen Pickett, I mean, he had probably the game of the year. The game of the year. To be on a team with Nikola Jokic, all the starters out, and you just take control and take command was just so admirable to see. Oh, and like going into, he was the only one that made an actual shot. He was the only one that made an actual shot in overtime. Before that, he had shot so many either side steps or step back threes over Embiid or over whoever was in front of him, but mainly over Embiid. And every time it was just like a what? Like, what? Did that really happen? And it's crazy because it's not going viral. It's not going viral at all. These sports accounts, they are not trying to show you Embiid getting put in a blender by Jalen Pickett. I'm pretty sure if you don't watch Denver basketball, you do not know who Jalen Pickett is. So that was pretty cool to see. And then fast forward to overtime, he immediately dribbles up the ball. Spencer does a great job at setting a lot of screens in this game too. Denver was able to get off a lot of threes, especially corner threes, because of the screens that Denver was set on Bona or whoever, trying to get to whoever had the ball in the corner. So another thing, shout out to Spencer for that. Just like making so many smart decisions. But overtime starts. And Denver, well, out before that. So Philly has the lead at the end of the third quarter, thanks to the refs. They also had turnovers, so I'm not gonna act like that didn't happen. Little, some signs of fatigue, some signs of being discombobulated. I wasn't a fan of the Julian minutes. Julian, he just kind of played kind of erratic in a way. How many turnovers did he have? Oh, he only had one turnover. Child, it felt like more. It felt like more than that, but he was 2 for 5 overall, so he didn't really get many shots off. 0 for 2 from 3, which kind of sucks, because you kind of expect Julian to have a similar game to Jalen, or at least have a similar game to Hunter Tyson. Hunter was balling, let me tell you. Hunter had 14 points, 2 of 4 from 3. So freaking clutch threes at that. 4 for 4 free throws and 4 of 7 from field goal overall. There was a stint, but I'll give Julian credit. He had 5 assists. And a couple of those went to Hunter Tyson, dribbling the ball inside, kicking the ball out, Hunter shooting his threes or shooting, making jump shots in the paint. There was this very impressive play that Hunter had, I think in the fourth quarter, where he comes back in the game. He didn't finish the game, but he comes back in the game. He gets the rebound over Bona. This is at a point, I think the start of the fourth quarter was when Denver really just turned up the notch. So I was getting scared at the end of the third because I'm like, okay, they're tired. They about to lose. Fatigue gonna set in. They out of gas, just like they was in Cleveland. They done for. But no, it was quite the opposite. They were speeding Philly up so fast. I'm watching Bona get tired. Bona, like I said, Bona is a big old freak of nature, okay? It don't get more athletic to me than somebody like Bona, okay? The way that man is structured. But I'm looking at Bona because they're doing fast breaks back. They're forcing stops. Every time Philly gets the ball offensively, Denver is like forcing a stop or making them play down to the second. And then Denver is just forcing them to try to keep up on the offensive end and keep them out the paint, which they can't do. Or make them contest, which is hard to do when they're leaving people open to try to crowd the paint. And so there was a stint where Hunter Tyson jumps over Bona. He jumps over Bona. He gets the rebound. He holds the thing for like dear life. I'm watching Bona run back on defense and he's like jogging. He looks tired. And I'm like, what? And Hunter, he just looking around. He dribbling up, looking around. He don't see nobody near him because to them, like he wasn't Peyton or he wasn't Jalen. I feel like, let me finish this. It wasn't like he was Peyton or Jalen. He runs up to the 3-point line, makes a side step to the left, cashes that baby so bad. And I think he got fouled by Quentin Grimes because Quentin wasn't expecting him to shoot that shot. Quentin was expecting him because it was like in the midst of a fast break. So Quentin was expecting him, I think, to just go for the layup. And so when Quentin sees him like do a side step, make a three, he goes to contest, but he doesn't give him enough space to land or something like that. And he gets the and one. That was one of the craziest shots I've ever seen in my life. And what's crazy about it is I've seen VJ Edgecombe do that like a healthy amount of times, make the 3 and 1. Now VJ behind, child, he was scoring so many threes in that second half. It was the most annoying thing in the world. I love me some VJ, just not when he playing against my teams, okay? But I think definitely towards the end of the third and in the fourth quarter, VJ was just cashing 3 after 3 after 3. And it's just like, even when you would go to contest him, it was threes that pretty much Denver was making. I don't think they were sidestep threes, but just spot up, running up the court, stop, pull up, don't even think about it, don't hesitate, don't do nothing, but shoot that thing. And that ball went in like cash. But anyway, very impressive game from Hunter Tyson. He had, I want to say it was a fadeaway jumper, but it really wasn't. He had a shot over PG where he was coming in from the side. I forget who else was there. They were trying to block him from attacking the basket. This man does the slowest Euro step, but that's all you need. You ain't got to do a Euro step so fast. And so he's coming in from the left to the basket, or driving, I'll say. He does like the slowest Euro step. It's like 1, 2. Paul George kind of pushes him, and as he's falling, he like shoots it right over Paul George's head. This is like right under the basket, mind you. Shoots it right over Paul George's head as he's falling down. And then the ball goes in. And of course he gets that and one. And so that was another trio of the shots that he got out of his 14 shots tonight. So that 3-pointer and one, and then the 2-pointer and one, those made up half his points. And he was so good. I was so proud to see him in that game. He scored 14 points on 80% true shooting. 80% true shooting. I think he was the only Nugget. He was the only Nugget to make all his free throws, 4 for 4. And free throws, honestly, free throws was one of them things that could have made or broke this game. Julian missed 2. He was 0 for 2. Curtis was 0 for 2. No, I'm sorry. Julian was 2 for 4 from the free throw line. Zeke missed 1. Bruce missed 1. Spencer missed 1. Peyton missed 2. So 7 free throws missed. And I think, like I said before, even if you make 3, like this game, you don't even have to take it to overtime. Deron, I wasn't mad at him at all. I think he had a good game considering everything. He was still a +3. So I think they still he still did what they needed him to do. Bruce had 19 points. He had 2 threes. He had a very clutch corner 3. And I think he had a clutch on the right wing as well. He shot the ball in the fourth quarter, one of those threes that were missed was a 3 that I was scared because I'm like, oh crap. Like if he missed this, we're going to lose, because it was like in clutch time. I'm like, man, if he misses this 3, we're going to lose the game. And the 3 was off. It was off. He was left wide open. The 3 was off. However, guess who comes in to save the day? Bona. Okay. Bona gets all up, child, all up and through his landing space. Bruce he shoots for 3 free throws, makes 2 of them. He made 2. He made enough to keep us in the game, child, but Bruce has had some stints where his lack of free throw making has hurt us. Okay. I ain't gonna bother him about it now. But I will hope somewhere in the future we can get a handle on getting these free throws together, because I think we almost lost. I think we almost lost the Toronto game because he missed 2 free throws literally at the end of the game. We almost lost. We didn't, thankfully. But yeah, I would like to see Bruce get a handle on the free throws just a little bit more. But everybody, man, everybody stepped up. It's really hard to critique anybody in this game. Everybody stepped up so much. Kind of going back to Jalen in overtime, they really they did so well in the first half of the fourth quarter. And then Philly started to catch up, and they tied the game. I think it was Tyrese who made the shot to tie the game, either Tyrese or VJ. Like I said, at the end of the fourth quarter, VJ was just knocking down all them threes, and it was just kind of hard for Denver to close them out. Of course, it goes into overtime. Both teams sucked in overtime. Both teams really sucked in overtime. And that's how I knew we were going to win. That's how I knew we were going to win, because once I realized, so Jalen made that 3 over Embiid. I think it was over Embiid and over Grimes. Immediately at the start of overtime, somebody made something. I think Tyrese had a fast break layup somewhere along the way in overtime. But both teams were like really bad in overtime. I remember there was somebody had pulled up a stat where it was just both teams had only scored 1 of 5 field goals with 1:30 left in the game. So 3.5 minutes into overtime, and both teams have only made 1 field goal. Thankfully for Denver, we made a 3 and they just made a 2, a layup. I want to say yes. Again, back to Spencer Jones, back to Zeke Naji. I'm glad Zeke got to end the game. He was just making some clutch. I think it was just the starting 5 and Zeke replacing Duran, which was the right call. So much great defense was being played. So much pressure was being applied, especially to Joel Embiid. I want to say, let me see how many. Yeah, Zeke got a block. He got a block in overtime. I want to see who on the Sixers had what turnovers. Yeah, in overtime, Joel Embiid had a turnover and VJ had a turnover. Everybody was a negative one for Philly. Everybody was a negative one. And Spencer Jones, would you look at that? Yeah, everybody was a +1 in overtime. Spencer Jones also had a block. And I feel like that was, of course, that wasn't the game-winning play, but it wasn't until halfway through overtime where I'm just like, we can't lose this game. Like, that's when I knew we were going to win, even though you still had like 2 minutes left in the game, because I'm like, they've just come through so much. They've overcome so much just to tie the game at regulation. They've played probably the best defense that they've played all year. Everybody included. Peyton was just working so well on Tyrese, whether it was Tyrese or double teaming Embiid or having to play against VJ. It was very good to see a lot of players have to defend not just one player, have to defend a multitude of players and do it together aggressively, you know? So I think the very end of overtime is when VJ goes for a layup. And that's the thing with Philly, you know, that's when I knew, I mentioned this before, but that's also another reason I knew we were going to win, because Denver played great defense in overtime, but there were shots where VJ, of course, they're double teaming Embiid. So therefore you're leaving other people open. Sometimes you don't have time to rotate check your surroundings and see who you're leaving open, or even run to contest who they are. So there were some plays where VJ and Maxey and Grimes were left wide open and just missed their shots. So I'm like, this has to be fate, because from what I've seen of all three of those players, they don't be missing wide open shots like that. Not like that. Tyrese, he had been making shots all game. And when he missed that wide open three, it was just like, huh? Like what? Tyrese went 0 for 3 in overtime. He missed a 3. VJ missed a 3. Quentin Grimes missed a 3. And again, they were all wide open threes. All of them missed a 3 in overtime, wide open. And I'm just like, because Bona was setting screens for them. Bona and PG was setting screens. And I was just like, they've been making these shots all game. How are they missing them now? VJ's missed 3 was, it just ricocheted straight off of the backboard. It didn't even hit the rim. Mind you, he made like 4 threes. He made like 3 or 4 threes. Yeah, in the third quarter, VJ was 3 for 3 from the 3-point line. And in the fourth quarter, he was 2 of 4. And in overtime, he just completely bricked it. An open 3 at that. So Denver did a great job at speeding them up, kind of causing them to have some anxiety. The 3 that Tyrese Maxey missed, it ricocheted right off of the rim. It hit the rim, bounced right off. I think both of theirs would, no, I think VJ's was too strong, way too strong. And I think Tyrese's missed 3 was short. Quentin Grimes, it was a corner 3. He was left wide open, child, and it just didn't go in. Like, it wasn't too strong. It wasn't like too short. It just literally did not go in. So I'm like, they gotta win. They have to win. And it's like the last 2 plays of game, child. VJ goes for a layup. Peyton, it was Peyton who contested it. Knocks it out his hand. Joel initially gets the offensive rebound. Immediately goes for the second chance point. Spencer knocks it out his hand. And Brucey B, the thing that I love about Brucey B, he don't make all the free throws that you want him to make. He may not score that much in a game, but I find that Brucey B, he's always kind of where you need him to be when you need him to be there. Bruce had, how many rebounds did he have? Bruce had a lot of clutch rebounds, I feel. He had 3 rebounds. So he had the most rebounds in overtime. Zeke had 2. And for Bruce, he had 3 rebounds. One of those rebounds was an offensive rebound. He had 6 rebounds total. So he was the third. Zeke had the most. Zeke had 8, Peyton had 7, and Bruce had 6. And so, but even in overtime, Bruce had the most rebounds for the Nuggets. So I feel like Bruce really played his part in just being where you need him, doing what you need him to do, where you need him to do it, when you need him to do it. And that's what a veteran is supposed to do anyway. But Bruce gets the rebound from Spencer, knocking the putback out of Joel Embiid's hands. Brucey B darts for the fast break, and it looks like just open, like there's nobody in front of him. But Embiid blocks it. It looks like a block, but then it's immediately called for a goaltend, which I thought was dumb. I mean, it was. Don't get me wrong. It was a goaltend. However, the same thing happened literally, I want to say in the second quarter. The same thing happened in the third quarter. Joel Embiid, he's credited for a block, but it was a goaltend, and the goaltend was even more clear than the goaltend that was called in overtime. The goaltend that was called in overtime was very close. It was very close, but when you watch it in slow motion, it's clearly a goaltend. The goaltend that Joel Embiid had in the third quarter wasn't even that close to award him with a block. And child, that third quarter, the refs really tried to show up in the third quarter for Philadelphia. Thankfully, you know, Denver, they kept it professional. They kept attacking. They kept playing fast, but playing organized. And just making their shots, bro. They just kept doing it. And really just controlling the game. You know, when you have everybody making their shots, including Zeke Naji, including Brucey B having 2 threes, it just allows you to space the floor in a way that's just so beneficial to what you need. But anyway, Joel Embiid, he gets called for the goaltend. That's literally the second field goal that Denver has in the entire game. Before that, somewhere along before that, VJ Edgecombe, Embiid feeds Paul George the ball in the paint. Nobody is boxing out VJ Edgecombe because everybody's kind of looking at Paul George. Paul George sees that nobody's paying attention to VJ. VJ just runs in for a monstrous dunk. And I'm like, ooh, they're still going to win this game because they can't do all of this. They can't generate all these stops. Philly is having all these missed shots that they usually make 9 out of 10, and Denver loses game. So I'm still having faith that they're going to win the game. But Joel Embiid gets the goaltend. After that, there's 5.3 seconds left. It's crazy because VJ, he inbounds the ball to Tyrese, and Tyrese doesn't look at him like ever again. You know, it's just like, I understand you have 5 seconds left, and it's like, it's Tyrese Maxey, you know what I'm saying? I would trust him if I'm the coach. I would trust him to take that last shot. But Pickett immediately picks up Tyrese. He had him initially, and Tyrese was able to get away. Pickett is able to slow him down just enough, but Tyrese gets around him, and it's kind of scary. But Zeke, like I told you, Zeke has a presence. He has a presence where even though he's not the most skilled, he still has the type of presence that makes the opposing player, whoever he's on, second guess what they want to do, knocks them off their rocker, knocks them off their equilibrium, makes them hesitate. As soon as Zeke comes into the picture, he runs towards Tyrese after Tyrese gets around Peyton. And the thing is, Jalen leaves VJ because he was guarding VJ. Peyton, once Tyrese, he gets the ball, he doesn't look towards his left like at all. He immediately sees the open space behind Peyton. He runs around him, so he gets free from Peyton. But Jalen's also trying to double him, and they just kind of force him right. He still gets around, and old Zeke just comes up out of nowhere, charges at him, jumps real high, straight up, knocks him off his rocker so much that he shoots the ball. He don't even shoot it. He just like kind of throws it up as he's falling down. And I feel like it was that pressure. It was that pressure from Zeke to make him feel like, you got to shoot this now. You got to shoot this now. You got to shoot it over me. That I feel like kind of was that last little dagger to throw Philly off their rocker and have a missed shot, because the ball did look like it was going in at first. It hit like the front of the rim. Didn't waver at all. It hit the front of the rim and just rolled right off. Game. Now, if they wanted to, the refs could have called a loose ball foul on Bruce, because when the ball jumped in the air, Bruce jumped like literally right on Paul George's back. Paul George falls once the shot clock goes off. Paul George falls flat on the ground. It's not enough time. The ball, it hit the rim and it bounced on the rim and rolled off. And by the time it rolled off, there really wasn't enough time for a putback. So when the ball fell off the rim, like it was kind of dead. But it was just so funny to look back and be like, thankfully they did not call a foul on Bruce, because I'm telling you, that shot went up and he like jumped right on Paul George's back. It was so funny. But shot clock goes off and that is game. I kind of paused for a bit just to make sure, you know, the refs don't do something crazy, stupid. Did we really win? Did we really win? Did we really win? So it was that game. I'll be rewatching that for a long time. It was one of the best games I have really ever seen. It's probably going to be the #1 game of the season for Denver when it's all said and done. You know, they had the Christmas game. They had the 2 times that they beat Houston, you know, not being healthy. They had the New Year's Eve game. They had all the other times that we've beaten the Timberwolves at our home, at their home. This game is going to take the cake. This game, and it didn't include Nikola, didn't include anybody. The bench was amazing. I think the bench definitely fed their energy. It was funny because Yoke is still, if he's not player Yoke, he's coach Yoke. And the video that's going the most viral is Nikola Jokic coaching Peyton Watson on the sideline. Everybody was doing that, and there was also a video of Yoke complaining at the refs during a dead ball. It was like during a timeout, and he's also complaining at the refs. So I'm like, Yoke is still gonna Yoke, man. He's gonna coach and he's gonna complain to the refs if anything. But it was just so cool to see the entire bench just so involved, cheering for every 3, every and one. These guys were going off. Tim looked great. Even the announcers was just like, who is that? They said Tim was the best dressed assistant coach, because I think it was after Jalen's shuffle with Embiid in that step back 3, where even Tim came up on the sidelines, and they was just like, Tim has to be the best dressed assistant coach of the night. And even when I watched Club 520 the next day, they were talking about who is that? They showed the same clip, and they were like, who is that? And Tim Hardaway, they were like, is that LeBron? It was like, Tim Hardaway clearly got money. So Tim Hardaway, he looked good. He looked best dressed of the night. He was very much into it, as they all are. But man, just probably the best Denver win. I feel like I've said that multiple times this season, but probably the best Denver win this season so far, and probably will be by the end of the regular season. But that is my analysis. We're almost at 50 minutes, child. It was so much going on, but so much to say, so much to be proud of. I don't have many complaints. Paul George was a -18. You know what I'm saying? If I'm going to look at the Sixers side of it all, he made a 3 in the first quarter, where I'm like, okay, Paul George, he's active. He's going to be in this game. And child, I don't think he scored any points after that. He was literally bricking everything. He was 1 for 4 for the 3-point line. He was bricking everything after that. That's crazy. That's crazy. Joel Embiid was the only plus out of all the starters for Philly. He was a +8. Tyrese was a -1. VJ was a -7. He didn't get hot towards the second half, so I can understand that. Barlow was a -7. He didn't do too much, but he wasn't really that bad. But Paul George, -18. That's gonna sting when they look back at that. But anyway, great game to get it at Philly's home. Crazy. But great game. My next analysis is going to be for their game against Boston. At Boston, it will be the conclusion of their East Coast tour. And hopefully this energy sticks with them. I think Jamal and Tim will play in this game, as well Aaron and Chris, I think. So we shall see if they can carry on that energy and get the win. If not, how do they recuperate when they come back home to Denver? A lot of questions. We'll have answers later on. But until then, I hope y'all enjoyed this long video, and I will talk with you all later. Have a good one.